Hi, my name is Jasmine from the Merchant Growth team here at Shopify. On April 27th of this year, Apple introduced an iOS update which changed one major thing. iPhones and iPads will no longer opt users in for tracking by default. Users now have to opt in to be tracked, but most users are opting out. Since half of all cell phone users carry an Apple device, our team feels it's important to discuss these changes with you so we can make more informed decisions as you go into your fourth quarter. Joining us today are three experts in their own rights. We're going to start with Kurt Elster. So you are a Shopify expert in our expert marketplace and are the founder of the unofficial Shopify podcast. Can you start by telling us a bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure, thank you. So I've worked in e-commerce almost my entire adult life. I've been working as a Shopify partner for about a decade. And I think in 2014 is when I said, you know what, I'm exclusively working on Shopify. And so naturally, in doing that, I've learned quite a bit about Shopify, the e-commerce space, the problems merchants face. But I think ultimately my why, my reason for being is less about the technology and more about I want to enable entrepreneurship. I want to champion entrepreneurship. I want to help people grow and build businesses. And it just so happens that Shopify is the best tool for the job and has been during my career. So I'm happy to talk through some of these issues that people are facing today.
Thank you. Definitely. Next up, we have Mojca Žove. So you are an experienced entrepreneur and are a Facebook ads specialist, to say the least. Can you share a bit about how you got to where you are now and what you do for your clients?
Yeah, so I actually got fired from an agency previously, and that's how I started my Facebook ads consultancy called Super Spicy Media. And I've been working with Facebook ads, I think, for more than 10 years. So my specialty, or what makes me different from my competitors, is that I actually love the technical part of Facebook advertising. So I love learning about how everything works in the background, which I think will be super helpful for today's topic. So that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And last but certainly not least, we also have Adam Greenberg here. And as a merchant yourself, Adam, you definitely bring a great perspective to this conversation. And as co-founder of onebone.com, can you tell us a bit about yourself and what is OneBone?
Sure. So OneBone basically started because I was on tour as a DJ for many, many years. And being a bigger guy, I would go into malls and I would try and find stuff that was trendy. And if it was trendy, it didn't fit. And if it fit, it wasn't trendy. And so I started custom making my own clothing. And, you know, the ball started to roll, and eventually met my partners, and they were experienced in the fashion industry. So we saw that there was a bit of a hole in that market. And there were others like myself that had the same issues. So OneBone is a size inclusive brand, and basically the concept is just to make as many people feel as comfortable and confident as possible.
Love that. And just to kick things off, Mojca, can you start us off by explaining some of the details about this iOS update, what it's all about, and how is it affecting merchants right now?
Yeah. So as you mentioned previously, what Facebook or what Apple actually now prioritized is security over tracking. So what they don't want Facebook to do is to track you, whatever you do. So what they did was, by default, you're actually excluded from tracking. So you're not being tracked by Facebook. You have to opt in if you want to be tracked. And that's what a lot of people don't do. Either they, first of all, love security, or they just decide, oh, you know what, I just don't want to be tracked from Facebook. So what that created is a problem, whereas now you have all these merchants and other Facebook advertisers who don't get to see all of these statistics behind it. They are not seeing any conversions, and the conversions they are seeing is a Facebook model, which is not 100% there and reliable, which means that there's this whole gap that they have to kind of interpret the results as they see it, which makes optimization a lot harder, reporting a lot harder. So they have to find other ways of, creating reliable reports so they can improve their decision making when it comes to how to optimize what to do with Facebook ads. And that is for Apple users. I think Android right now is being unaffected. However, I think it's, a question of time of, when this is going to happen for Android users, which I think that merchants should plan for as well. But that's kind of, in a nutshell, the recent iOS update.
100%. Yeah. And Adam, since you are a merchant yourself, has this impacted you in any way? Or have you not really seen changes from your side yet?
No, definitely. I'd like to just say it's such a cool opportunity to hopefully be representing plenty of merchants out there that are going through similar struggles that we are facing. Fortunately, our brand has created a good snowball effect of late, but the difference is, let's say, between the first and second quarter versus the third quarter is just crazy. The results that we were getting before the whole iOS update, and now, working closely with an agency and trying to figure out and navigate these waters. I've spoken to a lot of merchants as well, and we're very anxious to be finding out if there's a bit of a saving grace, or if there's a bit of an understanding of maybe what the next chapter will look like, as opposed to just us trying to, kind of go blindfolded and figure out how to track again. So I'm definitely excited to hear more.
100%. Yeah. And yourself, Kurt, I know that you're also working with a lot of different merchants. What can you share about the impact that this has had on merchants in your experience?
Well, certainly, in general, return on ad spend went down. And I think what is interesting is it seems somewhat dependent on audience. So we have one brand that just happened to skew younger and skew more toward Android users. And what we noticed, because we have a few, certainly not experienced like Mojca, but we have a few managed Facebook accounts. And it was kind of interesting to see that the algorithm goes to where the data is. And so we've noticed a lot more purchases happening from Android devices, right? Because that's where it can get info out of, unlike Facebook or iOS, where now it's just it's defaulting to, no, you get nothing from this. The issue with that is historically, iOS users spend more money than Android users on average. And so even if we're able to entirely swap out lost impressions and eyeballs, we still don't, and that's our best case scenario, we're still not seeing the same return on ad spend because it's lower conversion, lower average order value. So that's been the impact. And in some cases, it's okay, we're less profitable, but we're still okay. And in others, it's well, now we're going to start losing money on these orders and hope we can make it up on subsequent purchases through other channels like email.
And Mojca said it's coming to Android also, right?
I think it's a question of time. I think that currently, as the world is evolving, the technology world, and how people care about their privacy, I think that Android will move in that direction as well. And we have to prepare for it. So I think that the iOS is a rehearsal for what's about to come. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And Kurt, you were touching a bit on some of these workarounds and, targeting maybe more of the Android user. From your experience, are these workarounds effective? And what else have you kind of seen happen from your side?
It's so dependent on the brand and audience, but when you have the account set up, you have to try your strategies and tactics. And the thing I've always liked and understood best is email. So leaning on syncing lookalike audiences from like really specific newsletter segments as opposed to the entire newsletter. That's helpful. It's a way to mitigate some of this risk. But like overall, I mean, the amazing part of the Facebook algorithm was the sheer amount of data and input it had. And I guess it turned out a lot of that really valuable info and data was just straight from our own pockets from iOS 14. And so when we lost that, it's like watching this, this algorithm's been blindfolded and now it's serving ads like it's swinging at a piñata. That's how I like it.
That's how it feels.
It's a silly metaphor, but that's what it feels like.
100%. Mojca, any thoughts on that from your side?
Well, I was thinking about what Kurt said previously and what I think a lot of advertisers are kind of experimenting with now, with the Android and iOS having such different results and Facebook actually preferring Android users because that's where the data is. What I have found advertisers started doing is actually splitting the audiences. So for example, if you have a lookalike audience, which Kurt mentioned, what they did was take that lookalike audience and split it into two and create one audience of Android users or maybe three, or Android users and the other audience of iOS users. So Facebook would optimize them differently and hopefully would still serve ads to the iOS users who are more likely to purchase because Facebook still records conversions for the people that opt into tracking. And it is a little bit better using something like that, using an approach like that, but still not perfect. But I think it helps with optimization and, not feeling like a swing or a miss.
No, I love that. Yeah, Adam, I would love to hear a bit more about your experience with this and your thoughts to Mojca's points.
The whole concept between like splitting groups between Android and iPhone or Apple users, like I get it. The only problem is that I don't know if most merchants are in this sort of situation, but for us, our Apple users probably outweigh our Android users by 4-to-1 kind of thing. So it's just taking like a way smaller pool and focusing on them, as Mojca said, for maybe a portion of time and then having to rejig it. I guess the question, and what Kurt said about ROAS and all this stuff, like us as a merchant, we've adapted and sort of like built out our back end to be very well structured with our email flows and our text flows. And now we've just introduced an app as well that's fully integrated with Shopify that's created great opportunities for retention. The problem that we're facing is that, again, like 4, 5, 6 months ago, we were acquiring our customers at a certain cost. And now because the data is like all over the place, the cost has gone up exponentially and it's becoming harder and harder to bring in those customers at a reasonable and attractive amount. So I guess like based on what Mojca and Kurt are saying, I'm just wondering again, like, is there any sort of, once the fog has cleared, is there any new opportunities to like figure out a new school way? Or I heard recently that Facebook is also going to be updating their data as well. So just wondering if there's any light at the tunnel for us merchants.
So what I think Facebook is doing right now, to answer Adam's question, Facebook is working behind the scenes on new models on how to attribute proper conversions to proper audiences. But I think that won't happen anytime soon because it's a whole another thing to tackle. Sure. That. So what I think the best thing to do, and what you're already probably doing, is using third-party analytical tools such as, Google Ads, Mixpanel, those two come to mind, and track whatever's happening there and trying to attribute those results to Facebook. So using UDM parameters to track every action, and not relying on Facebook's data, but rather relying on Google's data and as much as you can, and Mixpanel data as well.
I have a question. Is this an issue of attribution or targeting? Like, are the ads serving and getting sales, but not getting credited back to an ad in Facebook, so it underreports the ROAS, or is it that it can't retarget these iOS users? There's a whole bunch of stuff it can't do now with iOS users who opt out. So is that a targeting issue? So is it attribution, targeting, both?
It's both, because even the conversions that, for example, the conversions that Facebook can track, they'll attribute it properly. But then you have, I can't remember what term Facebook uses, but they have this model where they guess where they guess where the conversion is coming from, but I can't remember the term. So Facebook is tracking conversions, and they're saying, we think it's coming from this audience. So the data that you could use, that we could rely on up until the iOS 14 is now completely unreliable if you want to make an informed decision on how to optimize the ads. So the problem is, yes, it's both.
It's both. I find as a merchant, I've like given up on attribution because I just find that Facebook isn't saying it clearly. Email platform isn't saying it clearly. There's double attribution between text and email, and now we're using the app. And again, like it's just kind of become this like cluster. I'll leave out the other word. That attribution has pretty much gone out the window. ROAS has pretty much gone out the window. You're basically just looking at how much you're spending, from a marketing standpoint on a monthly basis, and what are you bringing in at the end of the day, and does it work, and is it sustainable with your business? So all data, and we have the additional tracking, with a third party, and it's going well, but I find that it's not helping optimize the ads enough. And our content is the same and different because we're trying a ton of new stuff, and we're also trying what has worked in the past. But you're just kind of, again, like Kurt said, you're running blindfolded, right? Where like you have data coming in and it's taking it from elsewhere as opposed to Facebook, but I find it's not even really optimizing the ads and making it worth our while to be so aggressive in terms of trying to prospect on Facebook. It's like we're trying to find any other kind of solution.
You mentioned prospecting. Oh, go ahead, Mojca.
No, I just wanted to mention or to add to that. Pre-iOS 14, you could optimize the ads and you would see the change. So you would look at the results and say, okay, here's where the conversions are coming from. You would optimize having that knowledge, and you would see your ROAS increase, and you'll say, good job, we did that. Now, I think it's just from what I've been seeing, optimization is just a complete waste of time because it doesn't do anything. So brands are doing exactly, Adam, like you are doing. So they're looking at this as an investment into brand awareness. And just at the end of the month, they say, okay, so this is how much we've spent. This is how much we've got in general, not just with Facebook ads. We'll stick with Facebook ads because we're not losing money or not. So they make decisions like that, more general ones, as opposed to more specific ones like we previously could, because we could measure those results.
Yeah.
Adam, could you help me understand or talk me through what your sales funnel looks like? Like what's an ad that I could see? What's an ad? Like I'm a barrel-chested man, so I fit into your target demographic.
Yes.
Right? Just like giant, freaky barrel chest, which I hear you have t-shirts that will fit me. So what's an ad look like? How are we targeting it? And then what kind of page does that go to on your site?
So, yes, we have your size. We have everybody's size. But our ad is basically very introductory, very light, personable at the top of the funnel. It's basically usually a video of me describing the brand, describing why the t-shirt is the perfect fit. And it's just that sort of first touch point, and exposing the different problems that you might have had with a t-shirt and why ours might be a solution. Then you get into the middle funnel, and it's testimonial, and it's, reminder videos and photos of why this is a great t-shirt, why this is a game changer for you. And then you get to the bottom of the funnel, which, it's more product oriented, and there's offers throughout. And then basically we're sending people either to a product page, or our homepage, funny enough, has been our greatest converter. So we gear a lot of people to our homepage. So that's basically the sales funnel. And then, once people get to our website, email or text collection for an offer. And now again, once people have made an order or a second order, we're starting to shift them to the app as well to make a more direct connection.
Okay. So I think it sounds like landing pages are a potential opportunity there.
And by landing pages, referring to?
If we have a personalized page on your site that is much more reflective of who we think the person is and the ad. So
Okay.
really, like, I want, when they click through, I want the same content from the ad on the page to just reinforce that, like, this is a continuation of that same
Story.
messaging.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, that's just, like, from the outside looking in, that feels like the easy missed opportunity here. Assume
Right.
It's like, okay, we've got ads and people are buying. I'm ignoring what the return on ad spend is there. Then, okay, that's the optimization that I would attempt.
So I agree with you, and I love that idea of continuing the story. The problem is, the problem is that, like, we saw what was happening beforehand with these kind of conversions, and like we were converting like crazy. Our ads were converting like crazy. Our site was converting like crazy, and then our site still converts really well, but our ads are converting less well. So like, it's been that sort of ball drop there, but I do like the idea of landing pages, and I've looked up, that kind of stuff, but continuing the story is definitely a great move.
So is it the ads convert poor? Is it like we make fewer purchases off the ads, or we have a lower click-through rate?
Or
both.
Yeah, like, our click-through rate is more expensive, our click-through rate is more expensive, and yeah, it's both. Honestly, it's both. It's become like the Wild West in terms of like figuring out why these ads aren't working as well and trying to target the same way we were or differently, but acquiring the same sort of level of excellence that we were before.
Mojca, what's the right way to target right now? Is it like you would go like full manual, like old school interest-based targeting, like people who like this page and are like fit these demographic factors, and just kind of cut out Facebook's algorithm as much as possible?
I've heard, I mean, from my experience, yes, that's the better way of targeting right now, which is hilarious because up until iOS 14, we could do, so many things with targeting, but old school targeting seems to be the right targeting right now. Even, I don't know if you remember, like pre-iOS 14, lookalike audiences were the bomb. And I think that now with the iOS 14, people are seeing lookalike audiences less and less effective, and they're going more into old school targeting because Facebook still collects their the users' data, so you can really like create a really good target audience for you to target and not rely on lookalike audiences, which right now are not working. So I've seen more and more advertisers, more and more businesses go into old school marketing, discovering all of the interests that they could target on, and just doing all of that. Because retargeting you can't rely on right now. Lookalike audiences are basically they can be built from retargeted audiences, which are also unreliable right now. So old school targeting, it's where the party's at.
We've started doing that as well. It's not so much of a party, but like, so like it's a little bit different based on the algorithm and the AI and stuff like that. But like, it's still to me, it's not the right solution for all of us merchants out there. It's still, unless like is just like the bread and butter of what Facebook was for Shopify merchants, null and void. And like, we have to, we've started investing in TikTok, and we've started to, search into Snap and stuff like that. Like, is Facebook just not necessarily a solution for us Shopify merchants anymore?
Yeah, well, that's what I've been thinking is, hey, were we foolish to treat Facebook as like, well, that's the traffic store,
right,
and so we're just going to put 90% of our ad spend, and maybe it's like, all right, 15% of what I sell, I'm going to spend that on pay-per-click ads, and 90% of that I'm going to put into Facebook ads, and then maybe, remaining 10% I'll try in something like totally weird, like Pinterest ads, which now suddenly doesn't seem so strange, because there's a whole bunch of people selling PPC ads out there. We're not limited to Facebook. Should we be looking at other stuff? Wait till have you played with other platforms?
So I have, and let me answer that question first. As a Facebook ads expert who earns money from, well, not from Facebook, but by doing Facebook ads, yes, I think that a lot of people have been foolish.
Zuckerberg, cover your ears. Don't listen.
We know you're listening.
That's true. So I think I have started playing with other platforms. I think even, 2 years ago, I started playing with Google Ads, which I really love. They're really fun. They're super different from Facebook ads. But we've seen recently, especially now with the iOS 14, we've seen much better results with Google ads than we did than we are seeing with Facebook ads. So they work differently, and it takes time to set them up, especially if you're used to the Facebook ads platform, because it's so different, vastly different from Facebook ads. But right now, Facebook ads not really working as we hoped with the iOS 14 update. A lot of people are playing with other platforms, which I think is the right decision, because what this experience has taught us is that we should always diversify into other and multiple platforms.
The one I keep hearing positive things about, but I have no personal direct experience with, is Snapchat seems pretty positive. And I know people are like, Snapchat's still around. It has 300 million users. I just looked it up. And they sell ads. And everybody else is also saying, Snapchat, oh, who still uses that? Well, that means those ads are probably cheaper than you think. And that's true of other platforms as well. Like, there's just lots of places that we can advertise. And I think it's just a matter of finding the one that has your audience. Mm-hmm. Like, Pinterest skews way more female. So maybe, like for Adam, that, Pinterest doesn't work. But maybe Snapchat does.
The interesting thing is that we have tons of women buying for their men, so I think that's an option. And the way I kind of break it down is like between Facebook and Google and Snap and TikTok and Pinterest, it's like different vehicles, right? You've got this like cool sports car, and the top was down, and it's Facebook, but it's become winter and the top won't go up, so it's freezing cold in the car. Mm-hmm. And then you're like hopping into like maybe grandma's car that is just super old but has always worked for 30 years, and then you're going to hop into Google and just like you're going to get to point B. It's more dependable. Like, it's all just become this sort of like, it's like, which vehicle do you want to hop in? And what I find, and what Kurt had mentioned, like, is Facebook just an awareness play more than an actual like optimized conversion play, where it's, unless things change, it's almost become like Facebook is just like a billboard in the street. It's more about awareness than anything else.
Which is, I think it's sad, because I've always loved Facebook because how nitty gritty you can get with targeting and optimization, all of the data that Facebook collects essentially. But now I think it's turning into like essentially a billboard that sure, you spend money on, but you have no idea what the ROI actually is.
Well, all right. So if I'm going to play devil's advocate, I'm going to argue in favor of Mr. Zuckerberg.
Cool.
And
I'm here for it. I want it to be working, right?
right, yeah. And so I have noticed, and I could totally be biased, this could be in my head, as an iOS user, my Facebook and Instagram ads feel less relevant than ever. And I feel like my interests are not complicated. It's like, just show me car stuff and sneakers, and I'm happy.
Maybe some video game stuff.
Yeah, some Oculus Quest stuff. Like, come on, shooting fish in a barrel here, Zuckerberg. Yeah. And I feel like it's less relevant. Well, as the user, less relevant ads are in theory more annoying. I don't know, maybe I just ignore them, but like I should want more relevant ads. And that's the thing that it feels like we're losing on all sides here with Facebook. Like, privacy, excellent. Privacy should be important. I think it has become unavoidable that it's a thing we have to address. But then, so I'm not disputing that, but it's just there are consequences to it.
Yeah, it's like, could you imagine as a kid, somebody told you, hey, guess what? You're going to grow up and all the things you like are just going to be presented to you at any given point because there's little computers and little voices listening to you and programming exactly what you want and presenting it to you. If you want to buy it, you can. If you don't, you don't. And that's like where my opinion has come in. Again, you can't knock privacy, so that's great. But for me, I want Facebook to just be presenting me with ads that are relevant to me. I just want to see stuff that I care about. I don't like, and I love all the cat people out there, and I love how many cats they have and how much they love their cats, but show them that ad for the, cat bed or whatever it is, and show me the t-shirts that fit people, like that's the kind of thing. It's like, well, tracking might not be such a bad thing, right?
And I think that's where manual targeting comes into place again.
Right.
Because, previously you were tracked with a Facebook pixel, what pages you visited, they retargeted you, and then you saw relevant ads. If you opt out of tracking right now, those ads will not be available or will not show up in your newsfeed anymore. All of the ads will become more irrelevant to you. However, if there's an advertiser who can really nail the manual interests when it comes to interest targeting and behavioral targeting, then you'll start seeing, some of the ads will stand out as relevant ads in that flood of irrelevant ads because people don't know how to manually target people. So I think, again, coming back to targeting, I think that is something that a lot of advertisers need to look into if they want their ads to actually stand out and be relevant to their audiences.
For attribution, can we go like completely old school and just on the order confirmation page, and there's like several apps that'll do this, and just to ask the customer, how did you hear about us?
Yeah.
Like, is that relevant? Is that useful? I know we could yes, we could do it, but like, should we?
I have a small like side project, an e-commerce store, and that's what I've been actually doing. Because like Adam, I didn't know whether Facebook ads are still working or not. So anytime we made a sale and someone actually got in contact with us, I was like, hey, where did you hear? Yes. And a lot of them said Facebook ads. And I had no idea whether they came from Facebook or not. But that was the signal that told me, well, Facebook ads are still working. Yeah. I just might not be seeing that. So I think, yes, we should do that.
I think, look, the bottom line is, and we're all trying to figure out the solution, right? We're all in the same boat. Everybody wants to drive their solution home. And at the end of the day, Shopify is all about entrepreneurs, and it's about business, and it's about hopefully making a couple of dollars at the end of all this. So I think we're all working together hand in hand. And I think this is why it's such an important conversation for us to be having, because again, as a merchant, Q4 starts tomorrow or into, so we're trying to figure out and map out how this is supposed to look differently for us. Are we just going to keep, pouring the fuel on the fire in the Facebook world, and that still is the traffic store, although attribution is low, and we're dipping into the other platforms? But like, again, moving into that Q4, like, are you supposed to be completely evolving your strategy? Are you supposed to be acquiring customers in a different way? Like, what, with all this lack of, like, because really nobody has answers, right? If we had answers, we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation. So like, what are little tweaks that you guys are implementing or expecting to do moving into this last quarter of the year?
Well, the thing that scares the heck out of me is supply chain disruption and shipping issues.
Yeah.
So really, like, iOS 14, this is this huge problem for merchants, but the supply chain disruptions, truthfully, are what keep me up at night and keep me from thinking about iOS 14 less than I probably should be.
Like, is the less traffic actually helping you in a sense because the supply chain is so messed up right now?
Yeah, well, because I waffle between, like, my entire shtick is I want to help you sell more stuff to more people more often. But then at the same time, I'm like, am I just bringing the end near in doing this?
Yeah.
So I've been wrestling with that over the last several weeks. But no, I think the answer to both of those issues then is, all right, we only have so much control over the funnel and our business. And so I know how many people are showing up and I know how many people buy. And if I'm concerned about Chipageddon, then the thing I would focus on is, can I increase average order value? Because if I can get average order value up, then I don't need to acquire more customers to make more revenue. I don't need to ship any additional packages to get more revenue, but I still am getting more revenue without changing everything else.
Right.
Quickly, I'm just curious because we kind of got into this Q4 talk. Black Friday and Cyber Monday are obviously coming. So maybe all of you can probably go around and answer this one, but what do you expect to be, the biggest sort of difference between last BFCM and this year, and how will this sort of iOS update impact the holiday season?
I could take it from a merchant standpoint first. I think, I think we need to look at 3 years. I think we need to look at like the year before the pandemic, last year's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and what's about to come. Now, Kurt has mentioned something extremely relevant for many, many merchants out there, and it's supply chain. It's a complete zoo out there. If you are in manufacturing, or if you are, getting goods from overseas perhaps, or even if you're producing stuff locally like us, there's major setbacks in that entire world. So last year, you kind of go with an extended Black Friday where people aren't able to go into stores. So on e-com, it's allowing more opportunity to do the shopping. It's slightly less urgent, but like a brand like ourselves, what we did was we did multiple offers throughout the month of November, and we started earlier and we offered buy one, get the second one half off, and at 25%. And again, at different times, and then, a sale on just a certain product. I think now moving into this year, as opposed to that lengthier Black Friday, Cyber Monday, let's call it November sales month. Again, you backtrack to a year before the pandemic where it was really just focused on a weekend. It's a blitz. You come in, you get it, or you don't. Now, I think what we're moving into, I'm worried for the consumer, because I think that based on what Kurt has said and the supply chain, there are many, many businesses and entrepreneurs that are using Shopify out there that are not able to put as much on sale as they would have normally going into a Black Friday, Cyber Monday, because they actually don't have as much inventory. So if they discount it and people blitz, then they're going to be left, with no item for them to sell. Now, like in our situation, I think we're mostly going to be following last year's trend and offering certain offers. Again, like we're pretty fortunate because we produce here and we've had supply chain issues that we have pivoted, we've adapted, we've found fabric, elsewhere, we've maneuvered, which is the most essential thing being an entrepreneur. It's all about flexibility. It's all about, okay, problem A is happening. How do we solve it? Problem B is happening. It's just a series of that. But I think moving into Black Friday, Cyber Monday, I think it'll look somewhat like last year with less sales because people don't have the goods to actually put it on sale.
I think those are all great points. For this year, I ultimately don't think our promotions and our marketing is going to be particularly different than in years past, in spite of the iOS 14.5 change. And that's because realistically, you were never acquiring new customers through Facebook ads on Black Friday. It's just not, it's an unrealistic expectation.
That's for the return.
For most of the time, or at least for the last several years, owned audiences have been where you see the revenue come from our holiday sales. And so it's email marketing and SMS and a little bit of organic social media. But I could take those same audiences, I could take those phone numbers and those emails, I could put them into Facebook and set them up as custom audiences and retarget to those. So I really don't think I'm that, and I get, sure, I lose out on the attribution. But it's still, that's a fairly safe bet to make there. So as far as like marketing those promotions to the audiences we have, I'm not terribly concerned about it.
Yeah, not much changes in that realm.
Another thing that I noticed now this year, what advertisers started doing maybe slightly differently, is relying on lead ads, because lead ads have been unaffected by the iOS change when it comes to like retargeting those people. So what a lot of merchants also started doing differently is having like an opt-in where people can sign up for the Black Friday, Cyber Monday deals, and then retargeting those audiences, creating lookalike audiences out of those audiences. So that's what's been, in my experience, maybe slightly different from the years before, because merchants are trying to use different tactics when it comes to remarketing and not relying on the Facebook pixel, but instead staying within the Facebook's ecosystem, which lead ads definitely are, because they don't use the Facebook pixel.
I like that lead ads idea. Tell for people who don't know, tell us what lead ads are.
Yeah, so lead ads, they are essentially a form within Facebook where people can submit their email address or other information such as name, last name. Facebook actually collects that automatically from your profile. And you can opt into whatever the advertiser is promoting, either that's a deal or Black Friday, Cyber Monday deals, opting into being the first to be notified about this. But it stays within the Facebook's ecosystem. So you are not redirected to a landing page to where you submit your email, but you stay within Facebook. Like it's like a mini landing page within Facebook that you can submit your email into, and it gets sent to advertiser, and advertiser can download that list or do whatever it wants.
Autofill the form too, because it knows.
Yeah.
So you just go this is correct. Send it to them.
Exactly.
And then they could post it to their email software. Which for Shopify, let's be honest, it's probably Klaviyo, and then put them into a flow, an email automation for that specific promo.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
I like that. We've done it. It works well.
All right, so we got something here.
Yeah. So I think that's been really helpful with Facebook Pixel being really unhelpful at these times. And a lot of people are just, playing around with lead ads because it's really effortless for the end user. And it hasn't been affected as much because, it's tied to a Facebook's existing ecosystem. So you're not redirected to a different landing page, but you stay within the Facebook. Yeah.
It's also quite a bit less expensive, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, it is less expensive. The only other issue is if you don't set your target audiences really that well, you can end up with an unqualified audience, right. Which is, again, a waste of money. However, if you really dive into that targeting and set your target audience as well, really make sure that they're qualified, you'll end up with a lower cost per lead and qualified audience, which is win-win.
I would love to bring up Facebook's, I guess you could say, maybe Facebook's younger cousin, we could treat it as Instagram. For people who are sort of advertising over there at the moment, like we talked a bit about those other platforms, but Instagram particularly, what are we seeing sort of change there as far as this update and sort of return from Instagram? Mojca, if you want to kick us off.
Yeah. So pretty much the same, because when it comes to advertising, Facebook and Instagram are the same. Instagram ads, you set them up via Facebook, via Business Manager, which is tied to Facebook. And it's been affected in the same exact way as Facebook has been. So from my experience, I don't know, maybe Adam has a different insight, or Kurt maybe as well. But from my experience, it's been all the same. So still a drop in ROAS. Not seeing great results from Instagram ads, because and not necessarily saying that Instagram ads aren't working, but it's just, you don't see those results in your reports within the Business Manager, which is Facebook ads essentially.
Yeah, I agree. It's the same exact boat as Facebook. And again, like, what we've started to do, and I guess I could recommend it to other merchants because it seems to be working for us, is like we try to turn our products into content. So ultimately what we're doing is we're driving people back to our website or now to our app again, and just offering something new every couple of weeks. And so it similarly to how you want to watch a YouTube vlog series or a show on TV, you want a new episode. You don't want to just keep watching the same thing. So what it's done is created a great funnel. Like what Kurt was mentioning is basically you bring people in and you're prospecting, and then your retargeting becomes more internal through email, through text, through the app now. And it's creating those sort of urgent drops, as we call them, so that the retargeting and stuff is less urgent and essential to keep that, that MER ratio in perspective. So where our Facebook attribution and our ROAS is down an extraordinary amount, by the end of our month, because of those sort of retention game plans that we've come up with our customers, that pops, the MER, I guess, back down to make it affordable with regards to our marketing budget.
Define MER.
MER is, I believe the actual acronym is marketing expense ratio. I could be wrong, but that's what I break it down as. And MER, the way we're looking at it, is your marketing expense versus your gross revenue, and basically your percentage of marketing versus gross.
You're right. Yeah. Total marketing expenses expressed as a percentage of total sales revenue.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. And this is a metric that's existed, but we really weren't seeing in marketing discussions online about Facebook ads until after this iOS 14 change. Now suddenly it's like, all right, I think we got to stop looking at ROAS and start looking at something else. And marketing expense ratio seems to be the thing that people are paying attention to.
Yeah, it works for us. And again, being an entrepreneur, all you want to do is find ways of offering your solution or your product, whatever you're selling to people. But at the end of the day, I know a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of Shopify users, the main issue that people run into is sustainability and creating that financial game plan of a business that works and operates well and also is profitable and continues to grow on a monthly basis. So that is really the one sort of benchmark that we have really kept in mind, to know that, on our P&L at the end of the month, we're not, completely outrageous, and we're in line with our, let's call it business formula of our percentage of marketing versus our operations versus our cost of goods and our profit mixed into it.
I don't have a clever follow-up for that.
I was waiting to see. I was like,
I should just drop the mic right
it
now.
It was a mic drop. No, I feel like that's like amazing advice for merchants moving into the holiday season. And I'm learning so much myself as well. So I really appreciate all that. We really did also want to go around and kind of get some wisdom from each of you before we sort of wrap things up today. But what would be, we'll start with Adam. What would be one bit of wisdom that you'd share, business or otherwise, with those folks watching?
The wisdom I would share, and I'll speak mainly to the merchants, is what an amazing opportunity we've been given to create these, independent platforms using this amazing tool like Shopify. And at the end of the day, this conversation is all about, protecting numbers and making sure that us merchants aren't overspending going into Q4 and underachieving, on the bottom line when we're looking at our gross. And again, that MER and the, the percentages and making sure that your business is sustainable, I think doesn't matter what scale you are at in your business. I think the opportunity that we have to offer solutions, create a business potentially out of our passions is extraordinary. And I think that the exciting part, although what presents as a challenge right now, is evolving and adapting and making sure that ultimately you're doing something that you love. You're offering a product that you stand by, you trust. You may have, like myself, needed it as a very personal solution and now are sharing it with, thousands and thousands of people. But don't worry about the thousands and thousands of people if you haven't achieved that yet. Worry about exposing your product and solution to one other person and changing their lives potentially, or fixing whatever solution they're looking for. And again, take it one by one. It's even in our brand name, 1B1, like one bone, and just one at a time. And that will eventually snowball into creating something very cool. And then you could be worrying about these kinds of problems, how attribution and ROAS and all these things, but you've got this sort of pool of people that hopefully are committed and loyal to your brand or your whatever you're offering, and are interested in growing with you, and seeing what you have to present to them and being very respectful of their time, their attention, their money, and their life, because it's a very special opportunity that is presented, and to be able to build communities wrapped around entrepreneurship and products and solutions is just really cool. So wisdom for the merchants: love every second, love every cha-ching, as they come in. If they're few and far between or they're coming in every second, Is that Kurt? Is that a little nice? I like that. That's a great sound effect for my wisdom. So yeah, just love what you do. Build a cool community, and the numbers should fall into place if you're trying to look at it from a proper business perspective.
I love that. Mojca, you want to give us your word of wisdom?
Yeah, so I'll tie it to iOS 14 and all of the updates that we've experienced in the last year. First of all, I want to console anyone who's advertising on Facebook right now and is seeing just an increase in cost and they don't know what's happening. First of all, what we have to keep in mind is that Q4 is typically very chaotic, so things will die down in Q1 again. So things will become easy, especially if you're thinking of starting advertising right now on Facebook. Yeah, it will be expensive in Q4, but Q1 will be a lot better. So don't give up. And second of all, I want to come back to the point that I have made at the beginning, which is to diversify, if possible, when it comes to advertising, when it comes to marketing. Facebook can be gone tomorrow. Mark Zuckerberg can take it all away. Pinterest, the same, Instagram, whatever the channel it is. So make sure to be present on multiple channels, find what's working for you, but have other things in mind. Always have a plan B when it comes to marketing, because that plan B will save you on the long run if Mark Zuckerberg comes and takes it all away.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And last but not least, yourself, Kurt, your wisdom, please.
So my wisdom, in short, is a rising tide lifts all ships. And what I mean by that is right now we are facing a time of uncertainty. And uncertainty makes us anxious as humans. We don't like it, but it's also a time for opportunity and certainly a time to seek out community and collaboration. And at a Shopify Unite event in the past, I asked Shopify President Harley Finkelstein, what's one thing you wish every Shopify merchant would do? And he said, simply talk to each other. So if you can participate in the community, you are going to feel a lot saner. You're going to feel a lot more educated. You're not going to feel alone. If you can find your tribe among Shopify merchants, I think you will be better off faster for having done so.
I love that. That's really good advice from all of you. Thank you so much. I would love for each of you to go around quickly and just say where our merchants and our viewers can find you. And yeah, if we could start with you, Adam, where can these viewers find you?
So, our website is onebone.com, and we pride ourselves on being the first size inclusive, big and tall brand. There are many size inclusive companies out there, and the body positivity movement is moving forward, and we're just so proud to be a part of it. So we have sizes medium to 8XL, and we're actively growing the size range. And so it's onebone.com for that. On social media at onebone brand everywhere, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. And if you want to reach out to me personally, a great way to do that is on Instagram as well, in the DMs at Adam Greenberg 1, the number 1. And I love hearing from anybody and everybody. And again, my true passion is meeting people and connecting and creating this community, whether it be of Shopify merchants or people who have had a hard time finding clothing, and any way to relate, happy to do it.
Thank you so much. Mojca, yourself, Mojca.
Yeah, so you can find me on superspicemedia.com. There's an email there as well. It's mojca@superspicemedia.com. If you have any questions regarding Facebook ads whatsoever, I would be very, very happy to help you in this time of uncertainty. And I'm also on Twitter at mojcamars. So I frequently share my Facebook ads wisdom there in case you need like a pick me up or an advice or two. So that's where you find me.
Awesome. And yourself, Kurt?
Google me. Head to kurtelster.com. You could find everything you want to know, how to contact me, what I offer, etc. And if you're looking for your own tribe, One to try is our own unofficial Shopify podcast Facebook group, where I think we're up over 4,000 members now and would be happy to have you.
Amazing. Well, thank you all so much for taking the time to be here today. I know you have very busy schedules, so we really appreciate it. And as we all say here at Shopify, like anything we can do to help merchants, we're here to do. So thank you once again for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.